Like there isn't a day I wake up and I don't feel excited. It's a new day. And that to me, and I have to tell you, my life was not always like that. So, because I had so much suffering and...
こんにちは。そしてはじめまして。百の花のゆきです。この番組では毎回ゲストをお呼びしてそのインタビューを配信しております。十人十色の生き方考え方、共通しているのはどなたも子供がいないということです。今日のゲストは英語スピーカーの方です。日本語と英語訳をつけております。それではどうぞお楽しみください。Long time no see you.
It's great to see you.
When was the last time?
Beginning of 2000s, 2003.
Wow.
But still, it feels like yesterday.
Oh,
so,
really?
You know, it must mean that you're in my heart. So, you know, yeah. I really hope to meet in person again one day.
You make me cry already. Too early to cry. I didn't ask you anything. I don't even start the interview. Yeah. We actually are a friend when we are living in Melbourne in Australia.
Yes, it's like another life. And I feel I've lived several lives. I lived 7 years in London, 4 or 5 years in Melbourne. I'm in Norway now. So for me, this pandemic has been quite beautiful because it opened up the space to really connect again with these different lives and different countries. And, you know, you got the Facebook and social media, so you can really reach out to people so much easier now than it used to be.
Okay, so I'd like to ask you your age. What do you do for a living?
Right. I'm 48 years old and I live in Norway, in Bergen, the rainiest place in Europe. The town is surrounded by 7 mountains, so the fog is kind of very easy to come here. My name is Christina. I am a dance artist, a choreographer, and I am also chronically ill, so I am on disability benefit. So I spend a lot of time resting. Ever since I got chronically ill, I started to do research into how do I dance now that I'm ill.
So let us know about your symptom a little more.
Sure, I have a diagnosis called MESFS. It's myalgic encephalomyelitis, or the American term, it's systemic exertion intolerance disease. Mm-hmm. So every time I'm doing something with my body, some physical effort, or even just having a conversation, it takes energy from my body that I don't have. So I'm constantly fatigued, constantly tired. And if I push myself to do a little bit more, then I get fevers, I get rashes, I get body pain, I get flu symptoms, I get sore throat, headaches. The list is endless of symptoms. And so I also have trouble standing up. So 20 hours a day, I have to lie horizontally. I spend a lot of time in bed.
When did it start?
It's a tricky question because, well, the diagnosis was defined in 2011. And it came with an infection that never stopped. It just blossomed, inflammation, fevers, flu symptoms constantly. They never went away. And so we have done a lot of research into, well, can this work? Can this make some of the symptoms get better, and we find some things that can assist certain symptoms, but it's like it never really takes away fatigue, the tiredness that never ends. So it's like when you haven't slept for 7 days. Interesting for me because I've practiced Buddhism now for nearly 30 years, and I'm so grateful that I had this practice before I got ill. Because my automatic question was, when I realized I was chronically ill, was, oh, what do I have to learn now? What is it now that my life needs to kind of grasp and go deeper into and enlighten? And it certainly has provided me with so much wisdom I never would have tapped into to me. And so I've had the question from several places that, well, if there was a cure, Christina, would you take it right now? And the answer is not if I would lose the wisdom I gained from this. And that's, of course, I will take it, but it's so important what I've learned.
That's such a positive attitude. Wow.
Well, thank you. I can tell you, as I'm sure you know, that if you're negative, you get even more exhausted. I don't have energy to be negative. I have to be positive and stay positive.
So you must have been just feel like, am I lazy or am I too much working, because you are a dancer? So
yeah, I'm also a workaholic, yet that's not the cause for this illness. I constantly have to move slow. When I work now, I call it slow production. So everything takes much longer time. And that's actually quality. That's actually a power source and a luxury, because you have to be more thorough, right? You can't do superficial things. And I also remember a quote from Ikeda that says, "Great good travels at a snail's pace." So it's about that patience, right? It's about really appreciating life as it is.
wow. Being a dancer, do you have the moment, why me?
Well, of course, you ask those questions. We're all human, right? But the thing that I constantly go to in my mind, if that happens, is, does that question serve any value? Does it provide any kind of meaning? Does it make me better? And I just train myself to focus on creating value, right? And so this is really something I've gone quite deep in myself. Okay, this is what I have to go through in life. So what can I learn from this? That's a basic one. What have I done to make this happen? Have I done anything to make this happen? Not that my logical mind can comprehend. I have to accept this for what it is and then make the most out of it. Because when I accepted that reality, it was much easier to connect to joy. If I go into, oh, why, then I suffer. To a certain extent, suffering is ego, right? And we can all connect on that level as well, but it's not a place I want to stay. But it's certainly a place of value, because if you haven't suffered in your life, you will never connect with anyone else, on a deep level at least.
That was my journey of this infertility problem as well.
I had friends who have that suffering. At some points I thought, I don't understand this suffering. But then it's not about understanding, right? You know what suffering is. And you understand that person is suffering from this. So you empathize, right?
Yeah.
We all get triggered by different things in life, isn't it?
Okay, the first question, how do you currently have no children?
I never wished. And I thought back to my childhood, and I thought very early, I thought that it's too much suffering in the world. the world doesn't need more children. We need to take care of the children that are already here. So I had this idea very early that if I was going to have a child, then I was going to adopt. That was I was very small when I was thinking these thoughts. So that was a sort of big thing for me. And then there was also the element that I grew up with a lot of violence, a lot of abuse in the home. My feeling was that I didn't want to put a new person through that. And so I was very also connected to suffering with being a child. So there's some complicated issues there, I think, deep inside me. And when I met my now husband, we met later in life, and he already had kids, and he didn't really want to have more kids, but he said to me that if you want to have, then I'm open to it. But nah. And I remember also my sister who have kids, who's younger than me. She challenged me. She said, like, Christina, just because you didn't grow up having a nice childhood as such, shouldn't mean that you shouldn't have kids, you know? And I've really been pondering that over years, that, is she right? Is there something here that I need to go deeper within me? Because really I would be happier if I had a child. But I never came to that conclusion. And also there's the other layer. I'm chronically ill. I wouldn't have enough capacity during the day. I'm sure my husband would if I, do a lot of work. It's also an issue. But then, no, I'd rather spend my years and have a wonderful relationship with my husband and meet my family, my extended family and kids.
You find your life career since you are young, very young age. Many people struggle to find real job.
Dancing was my passion. When I think about it, consider it my child, probably what I uses so much energy and capacity, and any good parent would do with a child. Did for me, it was very much like I had so much to prove when I was a kid. I wanted to not be defined by my parents. That was like a huge thing. And I have to say then also today, I'm really proud of my parents. I really love my parents, and I love the experience I had because it's made me who I am today. So there's been a lot of work within and in relation to them as well, through the years. But that was a big motivation, was to get away from that reality. And that is part of why I was so determined so early. This is what I'm going to do.
Wow. How about Norway generally?
What do you say? The equality of the sexes are very developed here, as opposed to in comparison to a lot of other countries. Are still getting kids, want to have family, want to base their life around that sort of core family. Yeah. And there's so much divorce is happening. And there are now big generations with several parents, like they got several moms and several dads. And I think that's a beautiful thing as well when it's done in a positive way. And the parents, so they get a lot of people to raise them. But there's also a lot of independence here for women. I recently traveled to Malaysia. And the first question they always asked me, so how many kids do you have? That was not a normal question. You wouldn't be asked that normally here in Norway. So just, okay. I have quite a few friends my age that don't have kids.
Okay.
And it's not what we talk about.
Yeah.
It's so I guess it's, but I also know, as I said, I have friends who've really suffered this, who really wanted a kid. And
yeah, I am supporting the women with the children in Japan. They feel stigmatized. They feel left out from the society, like maybe other Asian culture as well. If I say I don't have children, they will ask why.
But I mean, it's tough if you're in the suffering and people are asking you that type of direct question. It can be felt like a bit of judgmentalism coming through. But I hear you when you say something. Of course, in Norway, it's very much the setup is the same. You buy a house, you have a car, you have children, and then that's how you socialize for all those years when the kids are young until they're teenagers. You're with the. So I can notice that some certain friends I had for a long time suddenly disappear for many years because they're raising kids, right? And I don't have kids, so you don't have that connection and that. When I commit to a project, I do it 100%. So I understand it on that level.
Some people say childless by your choice is selfish.
Wow.
What do you think about it?
Well, I think having children can be as selfish as anything. Okay. I think it's projection. I mean, there's nothing selfish about being chronically ill. That argument would totally fall flat for me. Now, I am curious to why they would say that. Or probably because
you're worried about population.
Oh, worried about population. Yeah, there's so many strange ways of thinking. My very strong feeling was that I don't want to have a kid because I don't want to take kids through the sufferings of life. I don't want them to experience having a heartache the first time. You know, it's all of that sort of, that's, okay, that could be interpreted as selfish. But if it's population, I think there are so many people in the world that needs care. There's so many things you can do in your life that really contributes. You don't need a child to contribute to the world.
Even if we wish to adopt the children, still it's really small chance to adopt children.
Friends of me and my husband, like they foster young kids who's been through trouble, and then they become like, so I just think there are many things you can tap into to, make use of, a desire. And also not even if your neighbor got kids or whatever. I mean, it's so many different creative ways, I suppose.
Yeah, that's why I became a teacher.
Yeah. Very important job.
This question as well, do you feel any disadvantage?
There are, I suppose, also in Norway, we have not too bad of a health system that you get certain payments if you have children, that type of financial support that you don't get as a single person. There are things like this. But I can't, on the top of my mind, think of any other disadvantages by not.
Many answers of these questions is they worried when they get older, who's going to look after them?
Right, yeah. Again, in Norway, I shouldn't brag too much about the Norwegian health system because there's a lot of room for improvement. Yet there is a certain system in place for older people, for disabled people, older people, etc., that you will somehow be taken care of. In fact, a lot of older people, they get happier when they get into an older people's home because it's much more social. And also, of course, I have my wonderful husband. I'm also conscious, Yuki, about taking care and nourish friendships. I think that is what sustains life. Even my wonderful grandmother, I can see it. She's always been an extremely social person. She doesn't know anyone just walking in the street. And, it's this thing that I see. Yeah, that's why she's still alive, Since 2016, I made my first work about this illness. It's called Please Body Follow, where I take my bed with me on stage. And last year, I did digital performances where people paid, all the money went to research for a cure for ME. And so, and then I made it from my bed to my cupboard and on my sofa, on the floor, and I took people on a journey with me. And this is what my work is about now, is to create awareness about this illness. Because I think the more open we are about anything, but also, for me, it's this illness, right? The less suffering it is. Hopefully more people can learn how they can support and care, right? So it's become my life's mission to really create awareness through my dance art as I call it. It's really dance art, and certainly make people more aware that, okay, maybe my life isn't that bad. Sometimes I feel, Yuki, that, okay, you're suffering. I lie in bed 20 hours a day. It's like, I don't know. That's not an ideal life. But I still manage to connect to my joy. It would be very easy to be depressed. I'd say to stay positive, to stay present, that requires work. Oh, I enjoy so much. Right now, what I enjoy the most in terms of my sort of daily is that, because of my illness, me and my husband, we can't live together. So I need so much isolation in order for my body to rest. And so what I enjoy most is he comes and picks me up in the car. We buy a cup of tea and we drive down to the sea. And we sit there and have conversations about life. That's one of my favorite things to do. See the sea coming in. We got beautiful nature here in Norway. And I have to say, Yuki, having a conversation with you today, I enjoy it. It really is. When I get to speak and listen to you as well, that's something that really makes me enjoy. But yeah, I find that talking to you, talking to friends, even people I don't know, that's also a dance. It's about listening. It's about sharing. That is joyful.
I love it.
Very deep question.
Very big.
I think life itself is joy. Like there isn't a day I wake up and I don't feel excited. It's a new day. And that to me, and I have to tell you, my life was not always like that. So, because I had so much suffering and complex feelings in relation to my childhood, post-traumatic stress feelings that really was triggered. But today, mature age, I wake up and I feel joy. And that is such a beautiful place to be, to feel excited for being alive, of life itself as it is. And then I can wish for a healthier body, doing more, meeting more people, see more plays, dance, art. But if I did all that and didn't feel joy, it wouldn't be better. Just being alive, that is joy. And I'm determined to appreciate just the moments I have being alive in this life, and to make myself and other people smile down to that basic level. That is the most important thing in order for me to feel fulfilled and to feel happy. I say that with such confidence because I tell you, Yuki, I've also been extremely negative. There's a real process behind this. And if someone said that to me, even just, 15 years ago, I would be so provoked. So I know this thing of respecting people's processes. If you need to stay negative for as long as it serves you. Please stay true to who you are. And then maybe at some point you will be ready to open up and be willing to experience something different.
Yes, people are busy hiding your negative mind and pausing, talking about only happy things.
I think it's important to acknowledge negativity, both in yourself and others. Otherwise, you become naive and you become easily fooled and you can't see things for what they are. But once you've done a really thorough, certainly I can only speak for myself and that job I've done with myself, I'm not so scared of other people's negativity. I can meet it to a certain degree. And most likely people who really, really suffer, they've been through some shit, And those who act out, behave in certain ways, I always look at, what's that really about? Because a happy person would never kind of,
I think so. Do you have any dreams or goals?
Yes, yes, yes. Next year, I have a big performance. It's on the International ME Awareness Day. It's all for research into a cure towards ME. Of course, it's another goal I have. I want to see a cure in my lifetime. And then I dare to dream about the impossible, if I can just say it, and that is that cure would treat me as well. That's on the sort of selfish level, I suppose. But will be my biggest dance project ever, and my health is the way it is. I have the goal that I'm happily married for the rest of this life and keep developing, meeting new friends, being open to new friendships. I think the heading for all my goals, Yuki, is to create value. If it's possible, we can make it happen. So keep working towards the impossible and you'll achieve a lot of things on the way. I never thought I'd be able to travel. I haven't traveled for 7 years now. And we managed to do it this year. So that opened up a lot for me because I focused so much locally because of my illness. And I noticed that I started to limit myself. And then life is really exciting, isn't it?
It was really, really nice talking with you. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you, Yuki. Thank you so much. And
Okay. Bye!
bye. Thank you.
いかがでしたでしょうか？バード・オブ・パラダイスと名付けたクリスティーン。私はダンサーである彼女が ME という診断を受ける前から彼女を知っているので、その期間も含め今なお病気と戦いつつ、その前向きな彼女の姿にお友達として本当に尊敬します。そんなクリスティのね、言葉はどれもとても印象的だったんですけれども、自分の人生において名付けたスロープロジェクト。何をするにも以前に比べたら倍以上の時間がかかってしまう。それを受け入れ、一つ一つ時間をかけてこなしていくようになったんですね。そこでいろんな葛藤がありつつも、その中で自分の作品のクオリティが上がっているっていうことに気がついたんですね。これね、本当私も学びました。ね、最近ではね、何でもインスタントの時代になってきてね、日本ではファスト映画というものまでできちゃって、映画でも本でも YouTube でも早送りで見る傾向があると聞きました。なんてね、他人事のように言ってますけど、まあ私もね、流れ作業でやるときなんかはね、たまにちょっと YouTube を早送りしちゃってね、見ていたりします。一体何をそんなにね、急いでるのかなって感じですよね。なんかこのレビューとかね、映画や本の評価を見ていても、ただ単に結末だけに向けた判断のような気がするんですよね。でもたとえね、最終回が自分が期待してたものとは違っていたとしても、映画や本の見せどころってそのプロセスにあるんじゃないかなって私は思うんです。どれほど読み手が夢中になって最後まで引っ張っていけるかっていうね。これってね、私、人生もそうなのかなって思います。そうなってくると、今っていうのが大切なわけで、これはね、クリスティンはこの病気になって1日のうちに20時間寝ていなければいけないわけで、まさにこの瞬間、今に込めて生きているんじゃないかなって感じました。バード・オブ・パラダイス。日本ではね、あんまり見たことがないんですけれども、なんて言うんでしょう。粋なね、お花だと思うんです。花言葉は恋する伊達者。立って踊れなくなってしまったクリスティンが考えたものは、ステージに私をベッドごと持ってっちゃえっていうものでした。彼女の幼少期は大きくなるにつれ PTSD になってしまうほどの恐怖や苦しみが多いものでした。そしてそれが自分が子供を欲しいのかと考えてしまう原因にもなった。 大人になった今の彼女は、その経験を得たからこその今の自分がある。そしてそんな両親を愛しているとおっしゃってました。その強さが今、病気と戦える精神力となっているのですね。それでは今日はこの辺で。Bye flowers!